Hi, my name is Kenny Wynne. I'm a pilot, and this is my wife.
I'm Doris
and this is our love story.
So we met on the 27th of February 2020, right before the beginning of the pandemic. I wasn't supposed to be at work that day, so I was covering a shift for someone at JKIA, and then he comes in as a customer.
So when I came in, there was like 3 different places I could get a SIM card. And I was looking at the lines, and I finally got to Doris. And I came up and I said, barigani. And she said, unang Swahili. I said, kidogo too. She said, is that all you know? I said, no, I know a couple more things. And then I bought a SIM card.
But he was weird Swahili, because he was talking the Congolese Swahili.
Yeah. So I bought a SIM card, and then my friend showed up. So we were speaking, and initially it was funny because Doris told me that she's never dated a white guy before. So I said, okay, well, why don't you take my friend's number? Maybe he can call you. And so they actually exchanged numbers.
You asked me what I think of white people.
Uh-huh.
And then I told you they want. And then he's like, you can give my friend your number, and then you guys can talk later.
So at that point in time, I realized, okay, I'm out. There's no chance for me in this race. Let him at least have my brother can have her number. So fast forward like 8 hours, I ran around Nairobi, I got some nyamachoma, saw some sights, and I came back. And I was thinking, okay, I have about 2.5 hours before my flight. Maybe she's still working. So I went over to the booth, and sure enough, she was still there. So hi, do you remember me? Yeah, of course. You're here from this morning. So it just started raining at that point.
I didn't remember you.
So it just started raining at that point. And so she said, why don't you come inside the booth so you don't get all wet? And we just started talking.
You're leaving out a lot of details.
Uh-huh.
This guy comes back. Hi, do you remember me? So up until that point, all white people looked the same. But I was just like, yeah, I remember you. So he tells me he's collecting Kenyan currencies for souvenir purposes,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're looking for a punch that's new because he had an old one. But later he told me you're just looking for an excuse
To speak with you again. Yeah.
Okay, so I looked for the punch. I didn't get the punch, but we start talking.
So we talk about everything. About movies we saw when we were kids, about TV shows, everything other than relationship stuff. There was never like a point where it was like, how do I get to the next step? It was just platonical, completely authentic, just 2 people in transit having a conversation for hours. And then I looked in my watch, and I was like, I have to go. It's time for me to go. So I said, well, maybe if I ever come back to Kenya, maybe I'll give you a call. And I just shook her hand, kissed her on the cheek, and left.
A business handshake.
Yeah.
Those hard ones, this was for.
So I get through security, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm such an idiot. Why didn't I just kiss this girl? Why didn't I just kiss her? This is my one chance. So I texted her. I said, hey, I think I left my sunglasses in the booth. So she goes, oh no, I'll start looking. So I ran back, and we're looking for the sunglasses, and we're looking around. I said, I actually didn't lose my sunglasses. And then we kissed.
You told me, okay, this is what happened. He goes off. So we had exchanged contacts so that he can send me a video on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So we didn't give me your number. It was like, I need to send you a video. So he takes my number, and then he saves it. And then now he texts me, so it was nice meeting you. It's like, it was nice meeting you too. And it's like, oh, I left my sunglasses. And then I was getting busy. I already had a queue of people to serve. And then he was the last one in the queue. Did you get the glasses? I'm like, I didn't get. Can I help you look?
Yeah. So I go in.
Well, shakwa mwenyeji. I open the door. He gets into the office. And we were seriously looking.
For a couple seconds.
You actually helped me get inside the drawers. And he's like, oh, so I didn't forget my sunglasses. I just came back to kiss you.
So we had a kiss.
Who does that?
Lasted a couple seconds, and then immediately he was like, watch out, there's cameras in here. And then
cameras in that office?
And then I said, okay, well now at least I have a chance, I have a reason to come back. So I left. I went through security, I went through customs, I got my ticket, I was waiting for my flight. Doris texts me. you really have to come back out and give me another kiss.
Did I say that?
Yeah, I think so. I
I
can pull
didn't
up the
say that.
evidence. I think we have it here. I think it was something more or less, you need to come and finish what you started.
You're the one who went to the lounge, took a shower, sent me a picture. Hey, I feel fresh. And then you're like, you don't know what time your flight is going to be. You guys have not been given any communication. It might take longer than it should. And then I told you, I wish you hadn't left. Because in that way you would be waiting on the other side.
So it came more or less that you should come back for another kiss. And I said, I can't come
I
out.
didn't say that.
I can't come out. I already have my exit stamp. And once you have an exit stamp, I would need a new visa to come back into Kenya. So she said, you were creative the first time. I'm sure you can find another way the second time. So I go down to customs. I explain to this Muse that I left my SIM card for my US phone just outside the airport. So he said, okay, give me your passport. You have 5 minutes. Go and come right back. So I ran back and I got my other kiss. So I just left, head back to the USA, and now I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life. Because now this seed has been sowed that can't be unsowed.
Did you have that in mind at that point?
You know, it was something that I didn't anticipate, because when you're traveling, you don't expect certain things like this to happen, especially in transit. So I was just ready to go home, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, am I really in love? Is this how these things happen? So we spoke pretty much every day. And this
but
was
after that, actually, when you left, you didn't talk to me until, because I remember the next day, the whole day, I was just waiting for you to reach out. You didn't reach out for the next, I think, way after you've landed, another 6 hours.
6 hours, yeah. So I just flew.
I was like,
15
you don't wanna text me
hours,
again.
and then I had to go home, go to sleep. It's a long way away. Kumbari sana.
So you slept before telling me that you got home
I think
safe?
so, yeah.
Oh.
So it was right in the beginning of COVID. COVID just started. So everything was locking down. Pretty much everywhere in the world was locking down. So
But we had plans before then.
we had plans to meet up within some time frame, but COVID just took over everything.
Okay, let me give the story. So this is February, towards the end. And then, now we've started talking, and it's looking like there's something. So then we have to start, you live in the US, I live in Kenya, how is this gonna work? And then you said that we can plan to visit because you don't mind coming back here.
Yeah, it was probably maybe a month in. You know, I was just getting back into work. I'm moving around, and everything was stressful. And it was like, what are we doing? You know, what is the game plan here? I think with just a lot of frustration, we both were looking at the value of how this relationship could work. She was living in Kenya, a place that I was completely unfamiliar with. I was now getting things back up and running in the US, and it was just like, in COVID, it just seemed like this was impossible. You know, how could we make this relationship work with the distance that we were in? And there was a point where I saw one of her Instagram posts, and it said, sunshine in the rain, or something like that. And
So you're still stalking me?
something in my heart was like, wow, you know what? You're gonna lose something so amazing by just letting this go away. You know, so we figured out, okay, look, even though Kenya's closed and our plans are completely broken up, I still promised you I'd come back and see you. From the day I kissed you, I'd promised I'd come back. So how are we gonna do this? And Doris said, well, Tanzania's open, so let's go there. So
So you're still looking at my Instagram?
that's where we made the plan. So I boarded a flight to Dar. She took a 16-hour bus to Dar, and we met at the airport for the first time after, was it 5.5 months? From February. 5 months.
Yeah, 5.
We both booked pretty much our plans to meet at the same time because we figured the bus time from you to get to Nairobi to Dar was pretty much the same time it would take me to fly from New York, Doha, Qatar, Dar es Salaam.
But you started traveling a day before I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we made it seem so Doris would arrive maybe just a little bit before I arrived to the airport, and then she would collect me from the airport.
Okay. So we get there.
Where did you stay in Dar?
I slept at the place. I slept at the house of the woman with whom I sat with in the bus. So I crossed the border, and then there were not even matatus. So at the time, Dar did not acknowledge COVID. So you're supposed to the moment you get to Tanzania, you take off your mask and hide it, whichever place you can hide it. So I was using the Terekea border, the one for Loitoktok. So we get there, I don't know anything. So I had a friend who lived in Loitoktok. So he's the one who helped me change the money because he knew those people, and I had been told you can be robbed. So we get there, I change the money, and then I'm told there's no bus right now that leaves Terekea to Dar es Salaam. So you have to sleep and then wake up the next day. I was like, no, I need to be moving. So the guy's like, I have a driver friend who's in Moshi. I can call the guy. They can wait for you somewhere on the road, and then you guys can go. He did exactly that. Me, my bags, dala dala. So now those face me, I face you. So we go with the dala dala to some junction, and true to his word, the bus was waiting for me. I didn't know Dar es Salaam was far. I thought it's just 4 hours, 3 hours. So I get in, sit, they were waiting for me before they take off. And then I sit next to this woman. She was fairly older. Her second born is my age. So it's hi. So kutoka hapa mpaka Dar es Salaam ni masaa mangapi? She told me 6 hours, but we took like 9 hours. So we go story. By the time we get to Dar, I know her life, her house, her kids, her cats, her dogs, pretty much everything. So my plan was, because we got there at 1 at night, to sit in a motel, this petrol station motels, and then wait until daylight, because your flight was getting in at 7 in the morning. So the woman is like, wow, you're kidding. There's no way you're sitting here, we're going home. I'm like, wow, okay, we're going home. I have never been in TZ, never. So we get to this woman's house, she's hospitable, she shows me the room for one of the sons who's in school. Tukalala vizuri. I wake up in the morning, I checked if I had all my kidneys, everything is fine. I get to the dining table. So the daughter and the dad, they're sitting, they just look at me like, when you went to? Walikuja na mama yetu kutoka Dar. Like, how do I tell these kids that I'm not even Tanzanian? Well, I make friends with the kids. One of them actually takes me to the airport to meet him now. So we get to the airport. I'm sitting. I knew he was coming, but now it's getting very real, very fast. Because the last time we met is the first time we met. I didn't know you. All this relationship has been on the phone. A lot has been said over the phone. And then now I'm meeting you. Like, it was different. It was just
But there was this strange sense, even though there was so much anxiety, there was this strange sense that, like, this was the right move. You know, like, there was so much doubt in between the time where we weren't together and back and forth, but it was like, something was like, this is real, this is actually
after
happening.
I've seen you, because we were chatting, I'm here. Just landed. I looked at you coming and I couldn't stand. Like, I couldn't walk to the place because I was like, what am I doing? You know?
So we ended up, I found some Airbnb. I didn't have much experience in Dar. There was one time I passed through there for a night, an overnight, but I never saw the place during the day. So we got this Airbnb. It was kind of near the beach. And I was nervous. I didn't know about security. I didn't know what it was. We had an Escati there. So it was like maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning, and boom, the power goes out. And I'm like thinking of all the horror movies I've seen. And I'm like, Escati? Escati! I'm shouting for this guy. I can't find him. I go downstairs. The door is wide open. I'm like, we're going to die right now. We're all going to die. This is how it's happening. They shut the power.
How you tell the story
They
is
shut the power.
different.
Doris is just flat cold sleeping. Like, can't even be
Because
bothered.
you're trying to wake me up.
I'm like shouting, locking all the doors, running around. Doris is like,
let me tell the story.
typical Mzungu.
Tell the
Typical Mzungu.
Let me tell the story. This guy was being paranoid all night. If paranoia was a person, that was him. So he wakes me up and then he's like, you will not believe what happened. So I went to the kitchen and then I found the kitchen door open, and then I went to close the door and then the lights went off. Like, what?
It was like a scary movie, horror movie. Mzungu in Tanzania, part 3.
And then he's like, I even checked the security guard. He doesn't have a gun. Baby, security guards don't carry guns.
I don't think I said that. This is just
He
Tanguis
just
just
has
adding to this story.
This panga thing. We're not safe in this house.
So anyway, so we were there like 2 weeks. We had a great time. We went to Zanzibar. It was during COVID, so the place was like a ghost town.
It was.
There
a
was
ghost town.
nobody there. You could get crazy
was a
deals
ghost
on any of the like hotels. They were like half price, quarter price. Dinner was included. It was empty. So we had a really wonderful trip, and
Because who travels in the middle of a pandemic?
yeah, and then I had to go back again. But there was this idea that I told her. That I said, "Look, I promise you, I'll come back." And every single time I had to make that same promise. And now this is my 8th trip to the continent in like 2 years. Back and
worked
forth,
out.
back and forth, back and forth. Doris told me early on that you should be able to make your decision if you're going to marry someone after 1 year. That was her argument, her opinion, which I agree with to this day.
Ultimatums.
That, look, you have a year, you have 12 months. I'm getting old. I want children.
I didn't say I'm getting
The typical ultimatums, you know? That you have 12 months to figure your stuff out. Otherwise, you can just bounce. So I said, okay, let's think really hard about this. In between, I'm coming and going. So I'd come to Kenya for maybe a month and a half. I'd go back to the U.S. I'd work for a month and a half. I'd come back for a few weeks. I'd go back. So it was back and forth, back and forth. So Doris was like, look, it's getting to the clock's running out. So I knew that I needed to make a decision.
Because you told me.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, so we're on the same team. So
I know we're on the same team, but get this. Get this. This
so-
is important.
Uh-huh.
This is important. So he actually formally asked me to be his girlfriend, like, hey, will you be my girlfriend? And my response was yes, but not for a year. And guess what you told me?
A year's all I need.
I don't even need 6 months.
Yeah, sometimes you overstep your words a little bit. But anyway, so I went to the jewelry store. I bought a ring, and I knew that Doris always wanted to go to this castle, Edgerton's castle, Egerton's castle in where is it?
First of all, the story of how we went home the first time.
It's that's the same story.
Okay. So at the time when we were planning, even after we've decided, okay, this looks like something, I think it's time for me to meet your parents. I mean, I wasn't in talking terms with my dad so well, so I needed to mend that first. So as soon as it happened, he had to go home to meet my dad and mom.
Killing two birds with one stone, essentially.
Yes. So he comes. I think that trip was specifically for you to come and meet my parents.
Yeah. So that was the agenda. But I knew Doris always told me about this castle. She said, like, I've always dreamed of taking my husband to this castle. It's a beautiful place. Where is it again?
Lord Egerton.
Lord Egerton's, but it's in
Nakuru.
Nakuru, yeah. So I knew that that's where I wanted to propose to Doris. So we went to Bomet. We met with the mom and
You
dad.
knew that?
Yeah. So we went to mom and dad.
But it
We
was my
spoke.
suggestion to go through Nakuru.
It was all planned.
Oh.
So we met mom and dad, met the family, we spoke, and I asked Mose, I said, Mose, look, I want to marry your daughter. You know, I understand there's cultural things that we have to do, and my parents have to come here, and, you know, we have to discuss some serious matters of cows, but this is something I'm serious about, you know? So he gave me permission. He said, look, I give you my blessing. So Doris had
He
no
said
idea.
that?
Doris had no idea at this time. So we went to the castle, and the whole time I'm like, she's gonna touch my pocket, she's gonna feel the ring. I was like sweating. I had it in my back pocket. So then we go.
You were acting weird the whole time.
Well, yeah.
But initially, I'd be like, maybe because we're going home, there's the anxiety of meeting parents and whatnot. But literally, you were acting weird. And then we come from home, and then I think I'm the one who suggested that we go via Nakuru so that we can take like a trip, right? So we go, this was like on Saturday. So immediately after the visitations and whatnot, so we go home and then we sleep in Nax. And then the next day, he's like, since we've woken up so early, let's go by the castle you've always wanted to go.
And I think you were a little apprehensive at first. You're like, you know, I told you I've always wanted to go there with my husband. I'm like, I think it'll be okay. I think you'll be happy with the trip. So We
I
go
wanted
there.
to take a significant other.
We went there
Castle.
with her best friend and her best friend's husband, and we drove through, and we were walking around, and I'm thinking, okay, when am I going to do this? When am I going to have time? So the best friend's husband knew. He had an idea that this was going to happen, but I was like, you can't tell your wife because she's going to spill it to Doris. So we get outside. I'm like, why don't we take a nice picture, of the whole place? So Doris was backing up, and then that's when I got on my knee. We were trying to figure out how Doris could meet my folks before we got married. Because in my culture, generally, the parents know the daughter way before you guys get married. It's, there's not so many cultural challenges with the potential daughter-in-law or son-in-law. Usually you know the families very well, you spend time with them, you sleep at their house, the mothers can take you out to really get to know you. So this was now me trying to tell my parents that I'm going to get married before you even meet your future daughter-in-law, which is really hard on me, hard on everybody. So we tried to get Doris a visa to the US, but these guys are they're very, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult process. So we applied for this visa, it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. It got rescheduled 4 times. The last one was August 2022. So I was like, look, you know what? We're gonna have to get married. If we're ever gonna have a chance at trying to have you come to the States, let's just do this. So we went to her church, we met with one of her pastors, and we discussed kind of the protocol of getting married in the church. And it was like 3 months of marital classes and step by step. And I was like, I tried to explain, like, Pastor, I'm very sorry, but I don't have 3 months to wait, So he said, look, you're gonna have to do what you're gonna have to do. So we decided to go through the AG process, which was a whole nother thing.
Wow.
But God was there the whole time. It was incredible how he manifested himself, and we met the right people at the right time, and we were able to go through the process and get everything done. So we got our certificate, and then now it was time to bring mom and dad. So we get our tickets for mom and dad, and they need to do a lot, so it's the visa, it's the health travel surveillance QR code, it's the COVID PCR within 72 hours, it's all this stuff before they could actually get here. There was a huge snowstorm. I didn't think the flight was going to make it. They finally arrive, and they arrive. They come into Kenya, and we're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they're here. So we took them to a hotel, we got them settled, and then the very next morning we drove to Bomet. But at that point, Doris was like, look, you're on your own, I'm splitting, I'll see you at the house.
So the day comes, and then I have to go home a day before. They cannot go home because,
Culturally, yeah.
Yeah, you haven't done whatever you're supposed to do. So it was supposed to be on Monday, right?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be on Monday. So we get there, the discussion took like 4 hours.
Yeah, we were in hard negotiations.
It was like serious negotiations. And then finally, because for us, women you don't sit in those panels, you don't.
Well, how it started.
So we just seated like out on the edge, and then guys are regrouping and grouping. And to some extent, I was like, I don't think they'll agree on anything.
Well, because how it started was the confirmation that you in fact stole our daughter. We were trying to get around that a little bit by saying that, no, we didn't really get married because we just did it for purposes of Doris meeting my parents coming to the US. But then they were like, because you know how these things go is one guy stands up and speaks, he sits, and the next guy, then I stand up and speak. So it's this back and forth of like, but what is this on your finger? Yes, it's a ring. Why are you wearing a ring? Because, so we're going back and forth. The finally we said, okay, fine, I admit it, I stole your daughter. They said, okay, thank you so much. Kongoy missing.
Okay.
So the penalty of this.
In Kalenjin, it makes sense to say we stole.
Yeah.
But now your dad was like, what do you mean, who stole who now?
Yeah. Well, of course, it's a different. You're putting two cultures together that have very little interaction. So they said, okay, but you understand the penalty in our culture. I said, yeah. He said, it's an extra cow. I said, okay, that's fine.
So everybody's happy, hallelujah, food, drinks, and then now people start trickling in because kuna wazungu wameonekana mahali kwa village. Like, that's a big thing. So everybody who has had the word, wanaanza kukuja. We didn't plan for, this is not supposed to be a ceremony, this is not supposed to be anything, and then now the compound is full. So we have to rush things up, and then make sure we eat. We don't stay there for a long time. Push, we come back to Nairobi, yes.
So we spent another couple days with the folks, got to know each other. We had a great last couple days, and then mom and dad flew back. I remained.
Yeah. So, but they had a nice time. They stayed here for a week. Went to the coast, and then here we are.
Yeah. One of the greatest decisions I ever made in my life was to come back for you that day at the airport. If I could go back to any time and place in my life, it would be there to make sure that I looked at you even a little bit longer. Because if it wasn't for that day, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have met your family. I wouldn't have known your culture. I wouldn't have seen how incredible it is to be here with you. There's a part of me in my heart that changed everything from that day. And I know we go through our bumps and our bruises and we continue to argue and bicker about silly things and leaving the tap open a little bit and leaving socks on the table and all of this stuff. But these are the ingredients of our love. And this is ultimately what we fight for and we continue to fight for. And you're the love of my life, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you.
Sawa basi. Ni poa bro.
Yeah.
You're my best friend, you know
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just that.
That's it. It's okay.